Hello, my delicious co-creators. Lilou here in beautiful Marin County, actually in San Rafael, outside of San Francisco. It's about North San Francisco, beautiful area. Debra, I'm excited to meet you. Marcy Shaima told me so many beautiful things about you. You actually partner with her, and this is wonderful to be in your presence. Thank you.
Well, I could spend the whole time saying wonderful things about Marcy Shaima.
But today it's about you, because I found out your background, and we're really going to speak about miracles and what it is like to manifest miracles daily and what it takes to stay even in the zone. You are the president and the founder of Yes for Success. So you have a lot of experience speaking, talking. This is nationwide, international.
Well, actually, I founded Yes to Success about 35 years ago. So I've spoken all over the world and taught principles of how to create a successful life. But it was time to amp it up and start talking about how to create a miraculous life. Yeah. One step above success.
Yeah. Because I love the word miracle, because to me it means like also surrendering, and there is this magic. It's beyond success, because success for success, results for results doesn't bring much, does it?
Well, the thing about a miracle is that it's a gift from the divine. The scientific or the dictionary definition of a miracle is that it is something that cannot be scientifically explained. It's just an occurrence. But we know that it's a gift from the divine. And we know that we are living at the time of wonder and miracles. They are happening all over. Have you noticed that miracles have started just manifesting for people more than ever before?
Well, I've noticed that a lot of us are opening to it too. I mean, that like just to ask for it, it feels like it's a big part of the process, no? So some of us are asking for it, and otherwise we don't see them.
Asking and also believing and trusting, because
and
receiving, right? Because as I said, you can't create a miracle, but what you can do is you can create the circumstances where miracles will flow in your life. We call it living in the miracle zone, and there are things that you could do to put yourself in that miracle zone where miracles are just everyday occurrences.
So tell us about that. Like, is this incantations, prayers? Is it declarations?
Well, there are so many things, Lilou, that you can do to create miracles, put yourself in that miracle zone so that miracles flow in your life. And they're all simple. And sometimes when I share them, I feel like, am I being trite? But the simplest truths are the most profound truths. And I'll tell you, one of the ways that you can put yourself in the miracle zone, I'm going to tell you how I met Marcy and how we started working together, because it's a perfect example. When I started my company, Yes to Success, in 1981, this cute little graduate student from UCLA came up to me after one of my seminars and said, I want to work for you. I want to work for you. And I used one of the principles that puts you in the miracle zone, and that is treat everyone as the most important person in the world. Put you right in that flow, because have you ever been in a conversation where you thought you were saying something important, but the person was like looking around to see if there's somebody more important to speak to?
That happens a lot at different parties or networking events, or yes.
Right, it happens. But I love the quote from Gandhi, if you can't see God in the next person you meet, you need look no further. So one of the things that I teach is to treat everyone like God, because each one of us is a manifestation of God. So this cute little UCLA student wanted to work for me. So I didn't dismiss her, like, what does she know about success? I gave her a chance, and Marcy actually became my personal assistant, secretary. And she was brilliant, as she still is. And after I retired to raise my children, that's another part of the story. In 1988, I decided to pursue a new passion, which is to be a mom at home for over 20 years. In the meantime, Marcy was becoming a best-selling author and a world-renowned speaker. And when she had this idea to teach how to create miracles, who do you think she called to be her partner in teaching the course?
Very cool.
And that was me, because if I had dismissed her years ago, you never know who you're talking to.
Right. But when you say yes, it doesn't mean, because we're talking, it's not about saying yes to everything, right?
No, of course you don't say yes to everything. What you need to do is you need to listen to your intuition. And that's another thing that puts you in the miracle zone. we all get messages. I think it's so funny when people say, Neil Donald Walsh got messages from God. Well, I love Neil Donald Walsh, but we all get messages from God every minute of every day. He just happened to sit down and trust and write it out. But we could do the same thing that he does. We could ask our intuition, what are you trying to tell me? And we could write it out. But it's one thing to hear what your intuition is saying to you. It's another thing to actually act on what your intuition is saying to you. And if you do, I promise you, it could be a rocky road, but it will be a rocky road in the direction of happiness, of success, and of miracles.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The mental kicks in really quickly. Like there's this first intuition, and then boom, it's like the overanalyzing mind says, "But who are you to want that?"
Right. The mind chatter definitely kicks in. But what you want to do is say, thank you for sharing. And then what you need to do is you need to take a risk. Life isn't meant to be safe. There's a concept in Kabbalah called tikkun. And tikkun is actually the lessons that we were born to learn. Okay? And each of us have different tikkuns. One person might have an easy time with money, but their relationships, there's many lessons they came here to learn. Somebody else, their lesson is to speak up for themselves. Somebody else is to, they have an issue with anger or addiction or whatever it is. That's what we came into this lifetime to learn. And what happens is that most of us were faced with our tikkun. Let's say it's speaking up for ourselves, and we're just about to with our boss, and we cave. But if you just know that that is why you were born, and you just do the difficult thing, that's your tikkun. And on the other side, the arms of the angels are just waiting to catch you. And the intuition says, tell your boss what you really think. But the chattering mind, I might lose my job, I need this, I have to pay the bills.
There's ways to do that. I mean, there's ways to say things and to be authentic and not blaming the other, for example, and creating miracle. I believe that when we're authentic, we're creating miracle, or we're getting in the zone, huh?
Yes, and you hit on absolutely one of the most important things about living in the miracle zone is being authentic. But being authentic doesn't always mean being nice. Being authentic means speaking your truth. We're living at a time where we have to speak our truth. There's another great story from Kabbalah, and it's a man goes, it's probably a woman, but the story goes that it was a man, goes to the gates of heaven, and the gatekeeper is there, and the gatekeeper said, why do you think that you deserve to be in heaven? And the man says, well, I am such a nice person. I don't have an enemy in the world. I've never done anything mean to anyone else. Everybody loves me. And the gatekeeper says, you have just earned yourself a first-class ticket to hell. Because we weren't put on earth just to make friends. When we speak our truth, sometimes we'll make enemies. But the most important thing isn't to just cast around so that everybody likes you. The most important thing is that you live your truth. And if you make an enemy, you make an enemy.
Living our truth, getting out of our comfort zone. That's where, stepping in different places and areas while maintaining and being in this flow and this miraculous zone. Is that possible? I guess there's little transitional phases there, huh?
Well, that's what I said. When you decide that you want to live your life in the miracle zone, it's not all going to be peaches and cream. When you decide that you're going to live in the miracle zone, which really means living an authentic life, you are going to run up against obstacles. You're saying, bring it on. You're saying, I am ready to live my truth. I am ready to live an authentic life. I am ready to live what I was put on earth to do. And when you declare that, then you are declaring, you get the whole ball of wax, right? Yeah. And you get the challenges along with the fact that there are the arms of the angels leading you on, waiting to catch you on the other side. And that doesn't mean that you don't do acts of loving kindness, because that will also bring you into the miracle zone.
then we really open up to the good, the bad, the all of it. Like because I've noticed sometimes like the shadow work brings us those miracles, and there is bright. Like who are we to judge that something is good or bad kind of thing? Like the miracle could be right around the corner.
Right. It's just, again, I'll go back to living your truth. Yeah. Going into your heart, usually the impulses from your intuition emanate from the heart, not from the mind. When the mind tells you all of the reasons why your intuition is wrong, again, you say, thank you for sharing. But once you start getting in the habit of actually trusting your intuition, what you'll find is that the miracles just begin to unfold, and then you can't wait to have one of those challenging moments where you get to choose what your intuition is telling you instead of what your mind is telling you.
The conversation these days is more and more, I just came back from Hawaii, but it has a lot to do with it's already there. Let's just open up to what's already there. Are you a believer of that, or that we're supposed to co-create or really declare or write it down?
I think all. Yeah. I think it's already there, but there's a story in the Hindu scriptures, and it's a story about how there's this town called Brindaban, and there's this huge flood, rain happening in Brindaban, and Lord Krishna, in the Hindu mythology, Lord Krishna takes a mountain and lifts it up and holds it so that the town of Brindaban doesn't get flooded. And when all of the people see Lord Krishna holding up the mountain, they run and they get their sticks to help him. So the analogy there is that if we have to do our little job of writing down our goals or visualizing what we want, it makes us feel good. But here's another thing. I do tell people that every morning they should visualize what they want for their lives, even though I do believe that it is all going to unfold anyway. But what happens is that if you visualize the wonderful relationship or the perfect job or the money flowing in, what happens is that it uplifts your vibration. And when your vibration is higher, then you are going to attract more wonderfulness through the entire day. So visualizing what you want, it might be like holding up your stick, but it also raises your vibration, and like attracts like.
Yeah. And what are the different steps, like when it's really, really low? How do you climb up this kind of vibrational ladder?
Well, one of those things is visualizing what you do want instead of complaining what you don't want. Yeah. We all know that one. We all know the other one, which is gratitude. You know the wonderful Byron Katie, loving what is. I remember one time I was at an event with her, and somebody said, what is the difference between what you teach and The Secret? And she says, The Secret teaches that you could have exactly what you want. And I teach that you could want exactly what you have.
Yeah. Accepting what's so, yeah.
Right, loving what is. Yeah. And as soon as you love what is, then it opens the door to greater and greater possibilities. When you're complaining about what is, that closes the door to the greater possibilities. So what you want to do is love what is, appreciate what is, have gratitude for what is, and just wait for those doors to open. And another way that...
So it's a matter of waiting too. You just said waiting for those doors to open.
Absolutely. Do you know, there's a... I don't know where this comes from, but there's a saying that when you ask the Creator, the God of your understanding, for something, there will only be three answers. One is yes. The other is not now. And the third is, I love you too much to give that to you.
Well, that's a tough one.
Right? So we think that we know what's best for us, but there is a higher power, or I believe there is a higher power that has our back, that knows what's really best for us. And sometimes we push and push, and we have to let go. And sometimes we're impatient, and things are not going to come in your timing. They're going to come in perfect timing. Yeah. Yeah. And if you just surrender to that concept that things will come to you if they're for your highest good, and they will come in perfect timing. It's all a dance. And that's why we're here on Earth right now. We are so lucky because we are here learning the dance steps and doing the dance with one another.
Yeah. There is this, should it be very precise, therefore, or creating more of a context and ask life, like I want to get clarity or find my life purpose or have more abundance, whatever it is, like should we just keep it very precise, or it's better to be open and therefore let the universe open a door or a space versus another?
Well, there are two things that I would say. One is it's great to put your order into life.
Cosmic order?
Yes, cosmic order, absolutely. And then when you get very clear what you want, then I always tell people on the top of their goal sheet, write this or something better. In other words, this is what I want. But higher power, if you have something else in mind that's even better, I am open to it. And also, I'm not a person who believes that you just visualize and then there's a quote from, what's that he's so wonderful, that comedian and Bruce Almighty, I can't remember his name, whatever his name is. He says, I have visualized my success and I have great success, but I didn't just visualize and then go and eat a sandwich. I wish I could remember his name so I could give him credit.
That's not Jim Carrey, is it?
Yes, it's Jim Carrey.
I want to interview you, Jim Carrey. If you're seeing this video, please contact Lilou Mace on YouTube and on Facebook. Please, this is time to do this video. Okay, and this was my little...
From you a lot more. but isn't that great? Because here he is, so successful. But he says, yeah, visualize by all means, but then don't just go and eat a sandwich. Then take steps towards your goal. Because God helps those who help themselves. So you want to take steps towards your goal. And another thing that puts you in the miracle zone, because I don't want to diminish it, being a kind and loving person, asking how can I serve, asking how can I help, absolutely puts you in the miracle zone. Can I tell you a story about my son?
Yes.
Okay. My son, who is 23 now, but when he was 13, he was in the 8th grade, and they were going to take their 8th grade class trip to Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the U.S. So all of his friends, all they could talk about for weeks, months, was what they were going to do in Washington, D.C. Okay, so they were so excited. So the night before the trip came, and I went to the obligatory parent-teacher conference when we were going to hear about the trip, and they said, oh, there's a swimming pool in their hotel, and they said how much money they could bring and where we should meet them at the airport, and then they gave out room assignments. So they're reading all of the room assignments, and they're saying, and Asher will be in a room with Kiwan and Terrence and Max and Joseph, and they're reading out all the names, no Daniel. I'm like, oh my God, what did he do? No, where's Daniel? And just as I was about to go ask the teacher says, oh, and Daniel will be in a room with Eric and Eric's personal aide. Now, Eric is this lovely autistic boy who had been at our house many times, but my heart sank because I thought Daniel would be disappointed. Because he was so excited about being with his friends and this and that. So I'm driving home and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell him? And I love Eric and I don't want to come off as being a bad person, but mother bear mode kicked in. So I go into the house and I say to Daniel, guess what? There's a swimming pool in your hotel and you can bring as much money as you want. And I said, and they gave out the room assignments and they put you in a room with Eric and Eric's personal aide. And Daniel looks at me. He says, Mom, they didn't put me in a room with Eric. I asked to be with Eric because, it's his 8th grade class trip too. And I was thinking, and I realized that if he wasn't with me, he was going to be left out.
What a sweet son you have. Oh, my God.
And the reason I share that with you is because that is the way he functions in life. And he has miracles left and right. He just made a documentary on basketball in Chicago. What he does is he helps kids in the hood who don't know how to get scholarships. They don't know how to work the system. He helps them. He's helped over 200 kids get college scholarships that would have fallen under the radar. And he also made a movie about 4 years, a documentary. They filmed one kid and his basketball team, and everybody wants it. All of the biggest producers and the biggest money people and the biggest sports figures in basketball all want it. And the reason I tell you that is that people also said to Daniel, because he's not a tall guy, how could you pursue basketball? But he pursued his dream in a different way, which was helping other people get basketball scholarships, but being in the basketball world, but always doing it not with himself in mind, but how can I serve? And now his world is just blown up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a beautiful story too, showing how we can, when we have a passion, it can show up in many different ways. That we have this we lock ourselves onto something on how it should look like, but there's different versions of that. Where if our hearts call for that, if there is a resonance, there must be something there. And keeping the explorational mind is a big one, huh?
Right, and that's true. We have to, sometimes we live our lives with blinders on. Yeah. Like, I want to be a basketball player. How many make it to the NBA? Yeah. But if you get a little bit creative, if you love the world of basketball, ask yourself why you love the world of basketball. Yeah. And that's what Daniel did. And he just loved the excitement of the game, and he loved the culture. And now he's actually one of the most well-known names in high school basketball and college basketball in the U.S.
Yeah, wow.
And he's not a player. There was a full-page article about him in Sports Illustrated when he was 16. Not because he was a good player, but because he pursued his passion of basketball in a more creative way.
It reminds me when I first saw Oprah and I was in the audience, how I just wanted to marinate there and just see her doing her thing. I just wanted to be around that. It's not like I wanted to pick up the microphone right away and do these interviews. It's just, oh my God, I'm so inspired. There's something about this energy, this field that I just want to marinate in it. It feels good.
Right, and that's another thing about living in the miracle zone. If a miracle zone for you is to be on TV, or if the miracle zone for you is to be a massage therapist or a best-selling author, hang out with those people because their energy is a great influence on you. It's not only, and by the way, if you want to be in the miracle zone, another thing to do is to help other people become successful in what would put them in the miracle zone.
Yeah. And doing that authentically too.
Yes. But mentoring people and investing whatever way you can help people, as long as you're doing it from your heart and not out of obligation or not to be impress other people. There's that quote from the Bible, do not do your alms before men to be seen of them, because then you have your thanks from man. And if you just do your good deeds without sounding a trumpet before you, then you'll have the grace of God. Then you're going to be living in the miracle zone.
This grace, sometimes it just lands on us without even asking anything, huh?
Mm-hmm. And that's happening more and more, because I believe that the veil between us and grace is getting thinner and thinner. I believe that there's a light of grace, just like there's a sun that shines everywhere the same. The sun doesn't not shine on you if you're poor, if you're white, if you're black, if you're old, if you're young. The sun just shines everywhere the same. But we could put up an umbrella, we could go live in a bunker, and then we could say, oh, there's no sun. Well, you're living underground. Of course there's no sun. And it's the same thing with grace. You could complain that there's no grace in your life, or you could do those things that remove the veils between you and the grace, like having gratitude, like asking, how can I serve, like following your intuition, all those things that we've talked about today.
You wrote Chicken of the Soup for the Soul on the Idol, right? On the American Idol, is it? Or what have you learned from that? Like those type of people, those that became stars?
I'll tell you exactly. I wrote Chicken Soup for the American Idol Soul. Yes. And also, that's another Marcy Shimoff story, because I treated her as the most important person in the world, because I saw the God in her those many, many years ago, when the Chicken Soup people asked her to write Chicken Soup for the American Idol Soul, she was under contract for Happy for No Reason. And she said, but I know the perfect person to do it for you, because they wanted a good writer, but they wanted somebody who knew Idol backwards and forwards. And you know why I knew Idol backwards and forwards? Because at the height of my career, when my Yes to Success seminar was blowing up, I was about to have my own daytime TV talk show in 1988. And I had a top agent about to get my book published, Yes to Success. I gave it all up when I had my daughter, because I realized that my passion was my daughter. And if I was out teaching or doing the TV show or writing a book, my authenticity meter would have been way over in the negative range because I didn't want to leave that child to go to the bathroom, let alone to get up every morning at 5 o'clock and tape a TV show. So I followed my passion. And what do you do with your tweens every Tuesday and Wednesday night? You watch American Idol. So and one of my goals years and years ago was to write a best-selling book. Did I know it was going to be on the American Idols? Did I know it was going to be Chicken Soup? Neither of those existed when I wrote down write best-selling book. But what I did is I followed my heart and I stayed home with my children. And then Marcy said, I know who should write that book. And she contacted me, and I was handed a best-selling book to write, essentially. And I got to interview all of the American Idols. And I'll tell you, Steven Tyler summed up what I learned from all of the American Idols. When I went backstage, because Marcy and I go backstage all the time now, when we went backstage, Steven was there, and another friend who was with us handed him Chicken Soup for the American Idol Soul. And he went, oh my gosh, I love this book. Steven Tyler asked me for my autograph, just by the way. He asked me to sign the book, and he looked at me, he says, you know why I love this book? Because it teaches young people that it takes a lot of hard work to become an overnight success.
It's all about the preparation. Yeah.
And that's it. Those kids, it might look like, oh, they're top 10 idol, but when you read the book and you read their stories, you know the trials and tribulations they had to go through to be up on that American Idol stage. A lot of hard work.
Yes, and for people that want to continue working with you, are you still doing next year the full year
of miracles? Yes, Marcy and I are very much going to be doing your year of miracles, and it's just youryearofmiracles.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for this delicious interview and meeting you here in your new home. I wish you great success here in California and around the world.
Thank you, and you know I've admired your interviewability and your beauty, your physical beauty, and the beauty of your heart for many years. So it's been an honor.
Thank you, Debra. Thank you. And thank you to all of you Juicy creators for watching and for sharing these videos and letting your friends know that, yes, the miracle is possible and this is how we're going to do it. Thank you. A big kiss to all of you guys. Much love. Bye.